So 6.2 is about the risks of information security. And 6.3 then moves on to think about how does that affect the organization. So if you think about the risks, first of all, so most organizations will have information stored on their systems. But one of the risks is obviously people getting unauthorized access to the data. Okay, the Data Protection Act is very clear that personal information, private information, confidential information should be kept personal, private, confidential. So any unauthorized access to the data is going to become a problem. So that's a risk if we are storing data that obviously we're going to try and prevent people from getting access to it that aren't supposed to have it. Another risk is unintended access to data. So slightly different than unauthorized, because this could be somebody who works within the organization and you've accidentally given them access to something that they should never have had access to. Or it could be that you've made some information available to the public on your website that should never have been made available to the public because someone's made a mistake, or because you didn't realize that this was happening. Okay, so it's unintentional, doesn't necessarily have to be deliberate, but it's still a risk. Accidental loss of data, so someone accidentally deletes something. Some hardware gets accidentally broken and now your data's gone. You know, your backups have become somehow corrupted, or your external drive that you're using to keep these backups on has broke, and now the file has become corrupted and now your data's gone. So these are all risks. We've also got intentional destruction. It may be that, you've been hacked and someone's deleted your data. Someone in your organization isn't happy about something that's happened to them or to someone who they know who works there, and they've deliberately erased something or deliberately corrupted something or introduced a virus onto the system, and now the data's gone. And it was, deliberately intentional destruction. Or it could be intentional tampering with the data. So it's been changed in some way. A student changing their exam results, for example, to make it look like they got a better grade. That's intentional tampering. People changing stock prices to make it look like their business is actually doing better than it really is. It's deliberate tampering with the data. And these are all risks that we find as we work our way through, what organizations have to keep an eye out for. So what are the impacts then of this unauthorized, unintended, intentional destruction, tampering, etc. of data? Well, we might find that your organization loses its intellectual property. So copyrights, things that you have developed as a company that no one else has developed, it's yours. The copyright's yours, the intellectual property is yours, and that's been deliberately kept secret because you don't want anybody else coming along and claiming it as theirs and then making money off it or patenting an idea that was your idea. So the impact of losing your intellectual property through deliberate destruction or theft, etc., that can be detrimental to you financially and to the future of your business. Loss of service. If you can't access the systems or you can't access the data on those systems, the service has gone down. Customers don't like that. I mean, you've probably experienced it yourself when you've made a phone call to somebody because you need something sorting quickly, and the person on the other end of the phone gives you the system's not working, or the system's down, or it's being really slow, and that creates problems because Customers see you then as a bit unreliable. The data that you're managing needs now, well, you can't, I'm sorry, I can't let you have it because I can't get to it. Okay, so, and that can create all kinds of problems. Customers don't like it, managers don't like it, customers go elsewhere. That leads to a loss of income. What if there's a failure in security of your confidential information? Well, the impact of that, again, is huge. If you've been hacked and suddenly loads of confidential information about your customers has been made available to people who should never have had it, that creates all kinds of issues. And not only that, it's a breach of the law. So you may find yourself not only with unhappy customers and unhappy clients, but you may also find yourself in court or facing rather large fines. What if you lose information that belongs to a third party? So, you're a company that sells clothes, but you use another organization to deliver those for you and to collect from customers anything that, doesn't fit them and they want that bringing back. And now all that information is gone. Well, can you make those deliveries? Well, no. Can you pick these items up from these customers? Well, no, because you've lost the information. So again, that leads to mistrust from the third-party organization. It may lead them to break their contract with you and go and work with somebody else. Customers are going to be unhappy. The company themselves aren't going to be very happy. And then that leads to a major loss of reputation. Nobody wants to deal with a company if they feel that their data, isn't being kept secure by that company. Nobody wants to work with you if you're unreliable. Nobody wants to buy things from you if, it's not going to arrive or it's not going to be picked up or, the price is going to be incorrect or your bank account's been charged twice or something's gone wrong with the system. So a loss of reputation, which invariably leads to customers and other companies going to work with another company or going to buy things from another company, and if you're not careful, you can find yourself ceasing to exist as a business that actually makes money. Okay, and the other one we need to think about is national security. So the risk of data not being available to MI6, for example, or to the armed forces, to the Navy, Army, Air Force. What if there is a threat to national security and suddenly you can't get your hands on the data you need? Or if the data has been deliberately destroyed by another country. So now that leads to the safety of the citizens who live in that country, suddenly being under threat. So, all of these things are important issues. And so that is why companies, organizations, governments, countries invest a lot of time and money in ensuring that these security risks and these impacts are kept to a minimum. So let's have a look at a question from the exam. Okay, so again, it's asking us, it's a section of a larger question. So the original question is about a hotel. They use an online reservation system to enable guests to book hotel rooms. And the question that we're interested in is part E. This online reservation system's had a breach of security. It doesn't tell us what the breach of security is, but it's had a breach of security. The question is, what are the impacts of this breach? What could become a major problem for the hotel as a result of this breach of security on their online website reservation system? Okay, and there are two answers for the two impacts, which are worth 2 marks each, giving you a total of 4. So one of the things we were looking at just a moment ago, there's a potential loss of reputation Guests are not going to be very happy if their personal details have been taken from the hotel's website. Could lead to financial loss, because who's going to want to book if your systems are not very reliable and not very secure? Are people going to want to put their details into that system? Well, probably not. You might find that you have to suddenly compensate your guests for the lack of information. Or you might have to compensate your guests because they made a booking and now you can't find it, and then you've booked the room to somebody else. All kinds of problems. If the identity has been stolen and the hotel is clearly at fault, then some customers might take legal action against them. Penalties from the Information Commissioner's Office, from the government, because there's been a failure to protect information, and that's covered by the Data Protection Act. And any other reasonable and valid suggestion. Now, one thing they would like us to kind of understand here is that generic answers won't get you any marks, okay? So if you say financial loss and then you give a reason why, then that's okay. But if you just gave a kind of generic reason and you don't relate it to the case study and you don't explain your answer in terms of the impact specifically on the hotel, then you're unlikely to get the marks on that question. So the context of the question and the answer in relation to the context of the question is important.